Now, we're in James chapter 5, verse 2. Reading from the King James Bible, quote, "Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten," unquote. The English Standard Version, or ESV, reading from, quote, "Your riches have rotted, and your garments are moth-eaten," unquote. Young's Literal Translation, quote, "Your riches have rotted, and your garments have become moth-eaten," unquote. Reading this from the Amplified Bible, quote, "Your wealth has rotted and is ruined, and your fine clothes have become moth-eaten," unquote. All right, now let's look at this verse in context. The paragraph that it belongs to is James chapter 5, verse 1, going all the way down through verse 6. So let's read this in context. King James Bible, quote, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers, who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them that have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth, and been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts, as in the day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you." Now this is the paragraph that this verse belongs in. So we read it in context, meaning we read before it and after it. So let's parse out the second verse, reading again from King James Bible, quote, "Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten," unquote. Now let's parse this. All right, now let's start this out in the Greek as we parse it, reading in English, of course. Your riches are corrupted. Now, the Greek word used for "are corrupted" in the New Testament is only used one time, and it is right here. Now, what this means is that it is destroyed, it is corrupted, it has got impurities to it. If it's cloth, it's got a hole in it. If it's gold, it's got impurities in it, and you can see it after time as it shows up on the surface. Now, we parse this out. It's second perfect tense, which means basically you, first person. The voice is active, so it means now, and it's an indicative mood, so it's stating a fact. So this is about you, it's active, and it is now, it's a fact. So, your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Now, let's look at "are" moth-eaten. Parse that Greek word out for "are," second perfect tense, active voice, indicative mood. So same as before, we're talking about you, we're talking about now, and it's a fact. Now, if you've never put mothballs into bags where you're trying to save like a wedding dress or an important formal piece of clothing or something of memory, then you know that moths can get in there and eat holes into your cloth. So when it says moth-eaten, it means it's basically ruined it. Because once you got a hole put into it, you're not going to wear it. You're just not. There's no way to fix that. You're just going to toss it out. So it's basically saying that your wealth, your riches, your clothing, they're all corrupted. They're ruined. So let's take a look and see what John Gill has to say about this. All right, John Gill, quote, "Your riches are corrupted," unquote, either through disuse of them, or so the phrase is expressive of the shortness of it, withholding that form themselves and others which is met, and which is keeping riches for the owners thereof to their hurt, or those are corrupted, or are corruptible things, fading and perishing, and will stand in no stead in the day of wrath. And therefore it is great weakness to put any trust and confidence in them. Quote, "And your garments are moth-eaten," unquote. being neither worn by themselves, nor put upon the back of others, as they should, but laid up in wardrobes, or in chests and coffers, or in our case, closets, and so became the repast of moths, and now good for nothing." Unquote. This ends John Gill's commentary on this verse. So basically what this is talking about, you've put away your stuff, whether it be clothing, whether it be retirements, whether it be money. When I was growing up, there used to be fires in people's bedrooms because somebody was smoking cigarettes on their mattress or in a couch, and the fire would spread. And the biggest worry was get grandma's or get mom's mattress out of the house because of the Great Depression and the bank closings down like they did and not able to get money. The ladies were very famous. Not usually it was the ladies, but not always. Sometimes the men would roll up their money and put it into a cut into their mattress so that when they're sleeping, nobody could come in and rob them of their money because all their money would be in that mattress. Of course, when they're there during the daytime, and there's usually a lot of people there all the time, no one's going to go into their bedroom. They're secured, and so no one would break in, and so boom, you're good to go. So basically what this is talking about is that money was good for nothing. It didn't help nobody. It was there, and when it burns down, you've lost your money. When the clothes are put away and you're not using them or nobody else is using them because you didn't give them away, they deteriorate. They become moth-eaten. They'll fall apart, whatever. I saw a couple of years ago when we had negative 20-something in the wind here in Michigan, a gentleman who was begging for money off the expressway on an exit. And I looked at him and I realized that what he was wearing, in a matter of minutes, he would have frostbite because he didn't have a winter coat. So I went to my house and I called and I said, "Get the warmest coat possible from the coats upstairs. I don't care which one." And I told what was going on. I was driving fast to get to the house to get to the coat, to get back to him. We have to get this guy into a coat. He's going to have frostbite probably before I get back there. I rushed back there with the biggest, warmest coat that was in this house. And I went up to him, parked on the side, went up to him and said, "You put this on." And I tried to give him the change and everything that was in my pocket because, I had some dollar coins in that. And he couldn't even hold them. His fingers were so frozen, so cold. He couldn't even bend his fingers to grab hold of the money. It was falling on the ground. I told him, no, I'll get it. Put this coat on. Get in my car because, this way he can stay warm. And I asked him, "How much money do you need to get off the street today? Because it's too cold." He told me. I said, "Fine. You know what? My church has canceled church services because it's so, cold and it's very life-threatening if anybody's car should break down on the way to church. And I have all these donuts in the back seat here for church. You take them." So I gave him all the money I had, gave him the donuts that I had, gave him the warmest coat I could find in my house. And I said, "Where can we get you off the street? You want me to take you down to the homeless shelter? I do fundraising. I can get you in." He said, "No, there's a friend here closer. I need $10 and he'll put me up for the night." I said, "Fine." Took him to the address, gave him all the money I had, which was enough money. It was $17, I believe it was, and all the donuts. And I said, "Do you need anything else?" He said, No, I'm good." I said, "All right. If you need any help at all, go down to the homeless shelter." I told him where it was at. Gave my name and said, "Tell them that I sent you. They'll put you up." He thanked me, and I saw him one more time. I think it was a couple weeks later when it wasn't so cold. And that was the last I saw of him. He was wearing the coat. So when there are needs out there, you don't always know about them. Go down to the women and children homeless shelter and take a look. There are needs. They need the extra covers that you have, the extra blankets that you have, the sleeping bags, the clothes, the mittens, the hats. They need these things. So instead of storing them up where they can get rotted, put them to good use. Either wear them yourself or give them to people in the church or give them to the homeless shelter so others can wear them. You might have a container of change that you've been saving up because it's a nuisance. Take it to the church and give it to them. Take it down to the homeless shelter, give it to them. Put it to use. We had collected the change in one church that I attended when I first got saved, and we had collected so much loose change during our services for the little kids running around with containers, and we put all the loose change that we had that we collected all week, that we had enough money to build a church in Africa, to build it completely. And at that time, it was $10,000, and it would build a perfect church in Africa for what they needed. And we had collected enough loose change just to do it. Put your money to use. If it's not being used properly, instead of just laying there, put it to use. Give it to God. You will not be sorry. That I have learned from experience. This ends the commentary on James 5, verse 2. May God richly bless you as you go along your way in studying the Scriptures.